A rare and deadly shootout at sea is now threatening to explode into a fresh Cuba-US confrontation. Cuban border guards say a US-registered speedboat entered Cuban waters near Falcones Cay, triggering an armed clash that left 4 people dead and 6 wounded. Havana claims the boat opened fire first. Washington says it is not taking Cuba's version at face value.
On Wednesday, the Ministry of the Interior reported an armed attack against a surface unit of the Border Patrol troops in the northeastern part of the El Pino Canal, Falcones Cay, Corralito Municipality, Villa Clara Province.
Cuba has framed the incident as a terror infiltration attempt, claiming the passengers were armed Cubans living in the United States, allegedly carrying assault rifles, handguns, Molotov cocktails, and homemade explosive devices. Havana says 2 of the surviving suspects are wanted on terrorism charges and that another alleged accomplice was arrested on Cuban territory.
As part of the ongoing investigation, it has been established that the neutralized speedboat with Florida registration number FL7726SH was carrying 10 armed individuals who, according to preliminary statements from those detained, intended to infiltrate the country for terrorist purposes.
But the United States is refusing to accept Cuba's narrative at face value. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says, Washington is independently verifying the facts, checking who owned the Florida-registered vessel and whether any Americans were on board. The U.S. Coast Guard and Department of Homeland Security have been deployed to investigate.
We're not going to base our conclusions on what they've told us. And I'm very, very confident that we will know the full story of what happened here, and we will know it soon. And then, we'll respond appropriately based on what that information tells us.
Rubio has underlined just how abnormal this incident is, warning that armed shootouts on open seas between Cuba and US-linked vessels are almost unheard of. The White House says it is monitoring the situation as details remain unclear and the diplomatic fallout begins to take shape.
Suffice it to say, it is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that. It's not something that happens every day. It's something, frankly, that hasn't happened with Cuba in a very long time.
The political backlash in Florida has been swift and furious. Lawmakers are demanding investigations and accusing Havana of using excessive force. The clash is now feeding into a wider U.S. political storm over Cuba, sanctions, and Washington's hardline pressure campaign on the communist island. The incident comes at a moment of peak tension, with Cuba facing an energy crisis after U.S. pressure on oil shipments and the Trump administration ramping up its regional posture. With 4 people dead, competing narratives emerging, and investigations now underway on both sides. What began as a maritime clash is fast becoming a diplomatic flashpoint between Havana and Washington.